King Charles has named his youngest brother, Prince Edward, the Duke of Edinburgh, a title held, of course, by his late father, Prince Philip, for more than 70 years. It had been the late prince's wish for Prince Edward to be granted the dukedom after his death. Buckingham Palace announced the new Duke of Edinburgh this week on Prince Edward's 59th birthday. Inside Westminster Abbey, a king was crowned, but a legacy quietly slipped away. Music and so, King Charles Roman III, the oldest person to be crowned monarch of the United Kingdom, emerges from Westminster Abbey. Only 517 days after inheriting his father's most treasured title, King Charles had to let it go. The ceremony appeared routine. Yet behind the ritual lay a subtle irony. The heir who spent decades escaping his parents' shadow now faced losing a title that defined him. Stay tuned, because as whispers of scandal ripple through the crown, one question lingers. Was this fate or the first crack in a fragile monarchy? The weight of legacy, a son's crown, and a father's shadow. It began not with ceremony, but with loss. For more than 70 years, Prince Philip had stood as the monarchy's unshakable pillar, disciplined, stoic, and steadfast. His passing left a silence that no amount of tradition could fill, and for his eldest son, it was more than the death of a father. It was the end of an era. In the days that followed, the wheels of royal protocol turned as they always do. Titles were reassigned, duties adjusted, and in name, Charles became the new Duke of Edinburgh. On paper, it seemed effortless. But for him, the weight of that title was deeply personal. It wasn't just an honor. It was an inheritance of character built on his father's lifelong devotion to service, duty, and quiet purpose. Yet, while the public saw continuity inside the palace, change was already taking shape. The Queen's health was declining, and behind the polished walls of Buckingham Palace, the family was preparing for a transition that everyone knew was coming, but no one was ready to face. When the Queen passed in September 2022, the shift was instant. The world saw order, a proclamation, a funeral, a promise that the monarchy would endure. A royal family united in grief and duty for the funeral of Queen Elizabeth Roman II, but hidden within that tradition lay another transformation. With Charles's ascension to the throne, every title he once held, including Duke of Edinburgh, was automatically absorbed into the crown itself. A chapter closed with the same quiet dignity with which it began, not through scandal or decree, but through the inevitable rhythm of royal succession. With Charles's coronation, the title faded into history, not stripped away, not contested, simply merged into the crown. The moment the crown touched his head, the title Duke of Edinburgh dissolved into it. He now wore the crown as king. Yet the personal connection to his father's lifelong honor had quietly vanished. For Charles, this wasn't about formality. It was about identity. All his life he'd been compared to two impossible standards, a mother of grace and a father of strength. He was the emotional one, the misjudged heir, the man whose mistakes were played out in public. Becoming king didn't silence that image. It only made it louder. Then in March 2023 came another shift. The title that once defined Prince Philip's devotion, Duke of Edinburgh, was handed to Prince Edward. To the public, it looked like tradition continuing. Inside the palace, it revealed something deeper. A quiet contrast between a king still under scrutiny and a brother quietly earning trust. While Charles's approval wavered, Edward and Sophie's grounded humility made them the monarchy's most reliable faces. It was a small moment that spoke volumes, a story of loyalty, perception, and how legacy chooses its own keeper. Because this wasn't just about a title lost and regained. It was about a man still chasing his father's steadiness in a world that no longer waits for perfection. By the time Charles took the throne, the monarchy he inherited stood on fragile ground. Respect had turned into curiosity, and curiosity into doubt. The Queen's death didn't just close an era. It cast a shadow only her son had to walk through. Every decision was tested. From allowing Prince Andrew to keep his residence despite scandal, to crowning Camilla, once Britain's most controversial woman, as queen. For years, Camilla was one of the most controversial figures surrounding the royal family. For some, it was forgiveness. For others, a rewrite of history, and as Charles stood beside Camilla on Coronation Day, weary yet determined, the question echoed through the silence. The crown endures, but at what cost to the man who wears it? The crown divided, brothers, scandals, and shifting loyalties. Inside Buckingham Palace, quiet tension began to grow between King Charles and Prince William. At 43, William had naturally become the public's favorite face of the monarchy, younger, calmer, and more in tune with modern audiences. His charity work, environmental efforts, and confident presence at global events gave him the kind of connection with people that once defined his late mother, Princess Diana. Charles, on the other hand, was still finding his rhythm. His ideas for reform, fewer working royals, smaller palaces, and a more cost-effective royal system, made sense on paper, but his delivery often felt distant. What he viewed as modernization, others saw as cutting away the monarchy's warmth. His speeches were thoughtful but academic, his tone sincere, yet sometimes hard to relate to. Then, in March 2023, the balance shifted again. The Duke of Edinburgh title, once held by Prince Philip, was officially passed to Prince Edward. King Charles Roman III has given his brother a new royal title, Prince Edward, Duke of Edinburgh. For many, it felt like a natural choice, but for others it was symbolic. They saw two brothers walking different paths. Charles, the king burdened by controversy, and Edward, the quiet royal, earning respect through steady work and humility. Some even said that if the crown were based on character, Edward might have been the people's choice. It reflected a deeper truth. Even after waiting a lifetime to rule, Charles still seemed like a monarch between eras, a bridge between his mother's legacy and his son's future. The loss of the Edinburgh title wasn't just a technical formality. It was a reminder that control over the royal story was slowly slipping away. Every step Charles took, from his approach to modernizing the monarchy to his handling of personal controversies, sparked new debate. Was he truly a reformer trying to reshape tradition, or simply a man caught between duty and doubt? But perhaps that's what keeps the monarchy alive, its contradictions. The institution endures because it's imperfect. Human enough to stumble, yet strong enough to survive. After Queen Elizabeth II's funeral, a strange stillness settled over the palace. The gold and grandeur remained, but the mood had changed. Where there was once certainty, there was now hesitation. And at the center of it stood a king trying to prove not just that he could lead, but that he deserved to. Charles's coronation was beautiful, yet subdued. The crowds gathered, but their cheers felt softer, their faces curious rather than celebratory. It was history unfolding, not glory returning. In that uneasy atmosphere, Queen Camilla quietly became the monarchy's anchor. She understood Charles's moods better than anyone, his self-doubt, his quick temper, his constant pressure to measure up. She shielded him from the harshness of the press, and stood by him when the spotlight turned critical. Yet public opinion toward her remained mixed. People respected her, but not everyone could love her. And as Camilla studied her husband, another figure began to rise, Prince William. Composed, confident, and modern, he was quietly shaping the monarchy's future, even as his father tried to protect its past. By his early 40s, Prince William had quietly become the monarchy's main engine, steady, efficient, and widely trusted. His leadership was calm and structured, earning him quiet praise inside the palace. Many aides found his approach easier to follow than his father's unpredictable bursts of energy. But even in royal rooms, tension finds its place. During one late-night discussion about royal finances, Charles reportedly lost his patience, reminding his son that experience cannot be taught. William didn't respond, but the silence that followed said enough. Camilla quickly softened the moment, reminding them both that survival, not pride, was what mattered. Outside, the monarchy's image trembled under constant strain. Prince Andrew's scandals and Harry's public criticism kept headlines relentless. Charles chose not to answer, a silence some saw as wisdom, others as hesitation. In private, the king was often lost in thought, surrounded by his father's old photographs and naval relics. He seemed haunted by the idea that he could never match Prince Philip's quiet strength. The irony was striking. The Duke of Edinburgh title, once his father's pride, now belonged to his youngest brother, Prince Edward. Edward and his wife Sophie had become unlikely favorites, calm, consistent, scandal-free. When they were officially named Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh in 2023, public reaction was warm and genuine. In Scotland, it felt as if the title had finally come home. For Charles, however, approval was harder to earn. Every choice drew criticism. His decision to cut the number of working royals was called cold and corporate. His climate speeches were dismissed as hollow. Even palace veterans whispered that things once done with quiet grace now felt forced and deliberate. Charles continued his work as king, aware his reign would be shorter than his mother's. He aimed to leave a meaningful legacy, a bridge to the future rather than just a monument. But it came with quiet sadness. The weight of his family's legacy never left him. His father's discipline, his mother's grace, and his son's rising influence echoed around him. Losing the Duke of Edinburgh title after just 517 days was symbolic, showing that although he inherited greatness, he also had to let it go. Charles remained a king, searching for his place in a house shaped by the past. When King Charles passed the Duke of Edinburgh a title to Prince Edward, it was more than tradition. It highlighted Edward and Sophie's calm, loyal, and scandal-free presence, earning public admiration. In contrast to the palace's turbulence, meanwhile, Prince Andrew's continued residence at Royal Lodge stirred criticism, as Prince Andrew is living in Royal Lodge. This 30-room Grade II listed mansion in Windsor Great Park, as his connection to Jeffrey Epstein cast a long shadow, raising questions about Charles's commitment to reform. Prince Harry added another challenge with his move abroad, revealing family tensions through his memoir and public criticism. Together, Andrew and Harry symbolized the scandals and divisions Charles had to manage, issues largely out of his control, but closely tied to his crown. Behind closed doors, Charles often struggled to balance being both father and king. Camilla remained his steady support, helping him navigate the pressures, though public opinion still questioned the influence she wielded. Meanwhile, Prince William was becoming the monarchy's real anchor. Smart, measured, and forward-looking, he understood the public mood and how to adapt to it. Insiders said palace staff found his leadership clear and decisive, the quiet opposite of his father's reflective style. Yet that difference sometimes led to tension. In one private meeting, Charles defended his slower, traditional pace. William, firm but calm, warned that the world wouldn't wait. Through it all, Edward and Sophie acted as the family's quiet bridge, smoothing tensions, keeping tradition steady, and offering unwavering support to Catherine, who faced her own share of pressure. Under the spotlight, their loyalty was understated but invaluable. Charles, meanwhile, kept his daily rhythm of briefings and red boxes, but those close to him noticed a growing solitude. On late walks through Clarence House gardens, he often paused by the elm tree his father had planted decades ago. The weight of legacy never far behind. The monarchy stands, but the balance feels fragile. A disgraced brother, an exiled son, a divided court, and an heir already shaping the next era. And somewhere between duty and doubt walks a king who inherited everything except peace. A fragile monarchy. The king who waited too long. By mid-2024, the crown still glittered, but the ground beneath it felt unsteady. The grandeur remained, but the glow had dimmed. Inside Buckingham Palace, the air felt heavier, as if history itself were pressing down on its walls. King Charles Roman III, still recovering from bouts of illness, seemed increasingly alone within the crown he had waited a lifetime to wear. Every public moment was dissected. A tremor, a pause, a change in tone, each turned into a headline. To many, Charles looked like a king carrying more than his crown, the burden of expectation and the shadow of doubt. After 70 years of waiting, the throne had become both his reward and his test. Inside the palace, confidence had quietly shifted to caution. Those who once served under Queen Elizabeth called this new era delicate, thoughtful, yes, but strained. Charles's push for a smaller, more modern monarchy often clashed with the traditions that defined it. His reforms, fewer royals, lower costs, less spectacle, made sense on paper, but left the institution feeling stripped of its warmth. Sir, or Orders HERT admitted something was missing. Elizabeth ruled with quiet certainty. Charles led with intellect and emotion, traits that made him human but harder to rally behind. His sincerity was clear, but his sensitivity often blurred his authority. Meanwhile, Prince William and Princess Catherine, had become the monarchy's steady heartbeat. Public trust flowed naturally toward them. Their calm presence, family focus, and effortless professionalism stood in sharp contrast to the unease surrounding the king. Inside the palace, William's quiet confidence had begun shaping the monarchy's direction, a sign that the future was already preparing itself. Beside the king, Queen Camilla remained his anchor. She understood his moods and guarded his image with quiet discipline. Years of surviving public scrutiny had given her the kind of resilience Charles often needed, yet she knew how fragile forgiveness could be. One misstep could summon the ghosts of the past. Prince Edward and Duchess Sophie, now the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, carried on with quiet dignity. Their steady work and genuine humility earned them deep respect, especially in Scotland, where they were seen not as celebrities, but as servants of duty. But the shadows never truly faded. Prince Andrew's quiet life at Royal Lodge remained a sore point, a reminder of wounds that refused to heal. Across the Atlantic, Prince Harry's independence came with constant echoes of the world he left behind. Every word he spoke reignited old pain for the family, and especially for the father who couldn't bridge the silence. By autumn, the divide between appearance and reality had never been clearer. The royal pageantry still sparkled, but behind the scenes, fatigue had settled in. The king's personal motto, "Serve with heart, reign with reason," now sounded more like a wish than a command. The man who once lost his father's title after 517 days now faced a deeper loss, not of honor, but of confidence. And as Britain looked toward the future, one quiet question lingered in the air. Could King Charles hold the nation's faith? Or was his reign destined to become a bridge to someone else's era? By late 2024, the British monarchy stood on uneasy ground. Centuries of tradition still gleamed in the spotlight, but beneath the polished crowns and balcony smiles, cracks were beginning to show. The same pageantry that once united a nation now carried a quiet tension, a sense that the crown, though still shining, had grown heavier than ever before. At 76, King Charles Roman III embodied both continuity and uncertainty. His long, awaited reign, initially met with cautious hope, had become a test of endurance. Every public gesture was scrutinized, showing that the crown demanded more resilience than he expected. Inside the palace, his efforts to modernize the monarchy, making it smaller and more efficient, clashed with fears that change might strip away its traditional essence, leaving the institution. Caught between progress and legacy, across Britain, the conversation was changing. Newspapers debated whether Charles was a reformer or simply a man out of step with his time. Even Prime Minister Keir Starmer, speaking carefully in Parliament, noted that the challenge for this reign was not preservation, but transformation. The comment echoed the mood of a country unsure if it still believed in crowns the way it once did. Abroad, the scrutiny only deepened. American and Australian media turned Charles's reign into global commentary, calling him the eco-king, the philosopher monarch, even the man who waited too long. Yet admiration came laced with unease. Critics argued that in making the monarchy practical, Charles had stripped away its mystique. What once felt timeless now felt managed. Behind the palace gates, Queen Camilla bore the burden of perception with practiced grace. Once scorned, now respected, she understood better than anyone how fragile royal favor could be. The ghost of Princess Diana still hovered in headlines, not through scandal, but through memory, a reminder that no amount of service could erase the past completely. In contrast, Prince William had become the calm center of the storm. His composure, restraint, and quiet strength offered the monarchy something it desperately needed: reassurance. He didn't seek attention, he steadied it, and in that silence many saw the shape of the future. The public's faith was shifting slowly, but unmistakably, toward the next generation. Beyond Britain, the world was also moving on. Jamaica, Canada, and Australia reopened discussions about cutting formal ties to the crown. Their tone wasn't hostile, just certain, a polite farewell to an era. "The world's moving faster than crowns can follow," an Australian senator remarked, capturing the mood of quiet inevitability. Back home, Britons remained conflicted. The monarchy no longer inspired the same awe, but it still reflected something familiar. Endurance through imperfection. "They're just like us," a London cabbie told reporters. Only their family drama plays out in front of cameras. And perhaps that's the truth at the heart of it all. Charles isn't the flawless sovereign his mother was, nor the outspoken rebel his son became. He's a man shaped by duty and time, imperfect, emotional, and human. In an age that values honesty over grandeur, that humanity may be the only thing keeping the crown alive. There's something quietly powerful about King Charles's journey. A man who waited his whole life for a crown that now feels heavier than history itself. He's been the longest ever a king in waiting in the history of the royal family, which goes back 1,000 years. Maybe that's the real truth of his reign. The monarchy's strength has never been in its gold, but in its will to endure. Leadership isn't perfection, it's persistence. Now, as the lights dim over Buckingham Palace, one question lingers when they think of royalty. Born on August 15, 1950, as the second child and only daughter of Queen Elizabeth Roman II and Prince Philip, the Queen drives over to Clarence's house to share this great happiness with her daughter. As Britain rejoices in the birth of a baby sister for Bunny Prince Charles, she became the Princess Royal. Growing up, Anne's life seemed charmed, but behind the palace walls, it was full of challenges. Her mother became queen when Anne was just a toddler, bringing a whirlwind of change to their family. With the intense duties of the monarchy, Princess Anne was often raised by nannies and caregivers, but she always protected her parents' privacy and royal responsibilities, shielding them from public's curiosity. As she grew older, Anne attended boarding school at Benenden, where she developed a deep love for learning and personal interests. There she excelled in her studies, showing particular skill in sports and riding. It was during this time that Anne's lifelong passion for horses truly blossomed. Princess Anne is in hospital with concussion tonight, after apparently being injured by a horse. Her love for equestrian activities would become a central part of her life, allowing her to balance royal duties with personal passion. Even while attending school, she was known to have a strong-willed, independent nature, traits that would define her as an adult. From a young age, Princess Anne proved her capability in balancing her royal responsibilities with her personal interests. As a teenager, she became a skilled horse rider, taking part in competitions and even winning several titles. Her dedication to the sport earned her the title of European champion in 1971, and she went on to compete in the 1976 Montreal Olympics. Princess Anne had set out, and at this point Candlewick looked good. Princess Anne was settling into another competent performance, becoming the first member of the British royal family to do so. Her involvement in horse racing wasn't just a hobby, but a serious passion, and she was often seen at prestigious events like the famous badminton horse trials. In addition to her accomplishments in equestrian sports, Anne made history when she appeared on the BBC television quiz show, A Question of Sport, in 1971. Her confident and witty appearance marked a rare moment of the royal family engaging directly with the public in such an informal setting. Despite her royal status, Princess Anne also used her platform to support important causes, one of the most notable being the Riding for the Disabled Association. Her commitment to the organization demonstrated her caring nature and her drive to help those in need. She was actively involved, lending her name and support to raise awareness for the cause, showing that even as a princess, she was deeply connected to real-world issues. After years of public scrutiny, Princess Anne's personal life became a topic of media fascination, and in 1973, she became engaged to Captain Mark Phillips, a former Olympic equestrian. The Archbishop now gives the ring to Captain Phillips, who will place it on the fourth finger of Princess. Their marriage, after 18 years of royal duties and public appearances, was celebrated by many, but it also marked a shift in how Anne approached her own life and responsibilities. In interviews, Princess Anne has always been candid about the pressures of her role. She once expressed how the life of a princess often comes with incredibly high expectations, making it difficult for her to maintain a sense of personal freedom. She also openly admitted her dislike for public walkabouts, a royal tradition where members of the family greet the public, and described them as uncomfortable, noting that they weren't her preferred way of engaging with people. Despite the heavy expectations placed on her as a member of the royal family, Anne carved her own path. She worked tirelessly in her royal duties, but also nurtured her personal interests, particularly her passion for horses. She often traveled alongside her mother, Queen Elizabeth, supporting her in official events, yet still maintained her independence and strong sense of self. Opened up about her relationship with her mother, saying the Queen always led by example and understood what made society tick during her 7-decade reign. Her journey from a young royal to a respected figure in her own right is a testament to her resilience and determination life of service philanthropy. Princess Anne has always been a prominent figure in royal duties, often seen attending important events and representing the British monarchy with grace and dignity. From her early years, Anne demonstrated her commitment to public service, with some of her most notable appearances marking significant moments in history. One such occasion was her first visit to the Soviet Union, where she represented the Queen and attended events in the 1970s, highlighting her role in diplomacy and peacebuilding during a time of tense international relations. This visit was significant as it reflected her willingness to participate in sensitive issues such as the acknowledgement of genocide. Over the years, Princess Anne has often been seen at Buckingham Palace, where she participates in official events and ceremonies. One of her most important roles is presenting medals on behalf of Queen Elizabeth II, celebrating the achievements of individuals from various fields. She also attends various royal meetings and gatherings, regularly representing the royal family at events like state banquets and cultural functions. Princess Anne is receiving the royal treatment in Papua New Guinea. At a local school, the country's cultural diversity was on show. Whether it's welcoming dignitaries or taking part in discussions on key issues, Anne has always stood out as a tireless and dedicated member of the royal family. Princess Anne's dedication to charity work is equally remarkable. She has spent much of her life supporting numerous causes, particularly those focused on helping others and improving lives. As the president of Save the Children UK, she has been at the forefront of efforts to help children around the world. Her charity work is not limited to the UK. Anne has traveled extensively visiting countries like India, Africa, and the Middle East, where she's worked to raise awareness of children's rights and education. Her global reach has made her a symbol of compassion and advocacy on the international stage. In recognition of her tireless service, Princess Anne was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize in 1990, a testament to her lifelong dedication to humanitarian work. Her nomination was a recognition of her efforts in child welfare and the considerable influence she had on improving the lives of children in the most disadvantaged parts of the world. One of Princess Anne's most significant achievements has been the founding of the Princess Royal Trust for Careers. Princess Royal Trust for Carers is an organization that supports unpaid or informal carers, an organization she established to support those who provide care for loved ones. Through this work, she has helped raise awareness of the challenges faced by caregivers and ensured that they receive the support and recognition they deserve. In addition to her charity work, Princess Anne has had a long-standing involvement with St. John's Ambulance, where she has been a key patron, contributing to its life-saving training programs. Her work with St. Andrew's First Aid in Scotland further reflects her commitment to emergency services and first aid education, ensuring that people are equipped with the knowledge to save lives. Princess Anne is also known for her involvement in the arts and sciences. As the patron of several organizations related to both fields, she has supported initiatives that promote cultural heritage and scientific advancements. Her role in art and science has helped to strengthen the connection between the royal family and the broader world of creativity and innovation. Despite her intense royal duties, Princess Anne has always managed to balance her responsibilities with her charity work. Her kind heart and strong sense of purpose have driven her to dedicate much of her time to causes she deeply cares about. Through her unwavering commitment, she has earned several titles related to her charity work, including the title Patron of the British Red Cross, which further reflects her role as a tireless advocate for humanitarian efforts. Princess Anne's life is one of service, blending her royal responsibilities with a deep passion for philanthropy. She has managed to touch lives around the world while maintaining her position within the royal family. Her work continues to inspire countless individuals to give back to society and contribute to causes greater than themselves. Leadership roles. Princess Anne has taken on numerous leadership roles throughout her life, excelling in education, philanthropy, and sports. For the last 30 years, I've tried to highlight that contribution wherever possible. And as president of Carers Trust, I'm particularly delighted to underline that message this week. As the president of Save the Children UK, she advocated for children's rights globally. Her leadership extended to the Commonwealth War Graves Commission, where she became president, overseeing the preservation of war memorials. In sustainable transportation, she supported efforts to promote green initiatives. Anne also championed women's careers, encouraging female empowerment, particularly through her work with the Women's National Commission. In 2022, she received the title of Princess Royal, a role that symbolizes her dedication to public service. Additionally, Anne has held key positions in historical guilds and arts organizations, further cementing her legacy of leadership across various sectors. Love life, with heavy royal duties and her intense charity work, she finds time for love too. But how her love life becomes so special. Princess Anne's first marriage to Captain Mark Phillips was a highly publicized event. Mark Phillips, an Olympic equestrian, met Anne in the early 1970s at a horse event. They became engaged in 1973 and married on November 14, 1973, in a simple yet elegant ceremony at Westminster Abbey. The wedding was a grand affair watched by millions, but it wasn't long before tensions began to surface. Both Anne and Mark had their own lives and interests, which led to clashes. Anne's royal duties and Mark's independent lifestyle created distance between them. Their marriage further deteriorated when it was revealed that Mark had fathered a child with New Zealand art teacher Heather Tonkin. DNA tests confirmed the affair, leading to the breakdown of their marriage. They divorced in 1992. In 1992, Princess Anne married Timothy Lawrence, a naval officer who had been a longtime friend. Their wedding was more private, taking place in a small ceremony at Cathy Kirk in Scotland. After their marriage, the couple settled into a quiet life, with Timothy supporting Anne in her royal and charitable duties. They have maintained a strong bond and lived together in a relatively low-profile manner. One of the most shocking incidents in Anne's life occurred in 1974, when she was the victim of a kidnapping attempt. Ball's plan was to kidnap the Queen's daughter for a £2 million ransom, but as he demanded she get out of her car, she famously replied, "Not bloody likely." A man named Ian Ball attempted to abduct her outside Buckingham Palace. During the dramatic scene, Anne's security detail fought back, and Anne herself showed remarkable courage, refusing to comply with her captor. Ball was eventually captured, and no one was seriously harmed. In 1976, Anne had another serious accident when she fell off her horse at the badminton horse trials. She was thrown to the ground and sustained several injuries, including a dislocated shoulder and bruising. After a period of rest and treatment, Anne made a full recovery and was soon back in the saddle. However, a few years later, Anne faced another difficult moment. In 2002, her dog, a German Shepherd, attacked 2 boys on her property. Anne pleaded guilty to failing to control the dog, and she was fined. Despite the controversy, she was supported by her brother, King Charles, who stood by her side throughout the ordeal. Anne also faced significant personal grief when both of her parents passed away. Queen Elizabeth Roman II died on September 8, 2022, at the age of 96. Breaking news: Queen Elizabeth Roman II, Britain's longest reigning monarch, has died at the age of 96, and Prince Philip had passed away the year before at 99. Anne, who had always been close to her parents, managed her grief with grace, often leaning on her siblings, particularly King Charles. As the family came together in mourning, Anne remained a steady presence, offering advice and support to her brother, who became king. Early life of King Charles. Now, let's take a closer look at King Charles's early years in the royal family. King Charles was born on November 14, 1948, the first child of Queen Elizabeth Roman II and Prince Philip. His birth marked the beginning of a new era in the British monarchy. Just a few years after his birth, his mother became Queen Elizabeth Roman II when her father, King George VI, passed away in 1952. Charles, as the eldest son, was immediately named the heir to the throne. His early life was full of royal duties and expectations, but he also had the opportunity to experience a world far from the formalities of royal life. Growing up, the media had a long memory, whispers of her being manipulative, of exerting quiet control behind the scenes, a school that had a reputation for discipline. Charles didn't enjoy his time at Gordonstoun, often feeling isolated, and he later described it as harsh. Still, it helped shape his character. After Gordonstoun, Charles attended Cambridge University, where he studied archaeology and anthropology. His university years gave him a chance to broaden his horizons, and it was there that he first traveled abroad for a series of educational trips, including a visit to Australia and the Caribbean. Throughout his early years, Princess Anne and Charles shared a special bond. Despite the pressures of being royal siblings, they were close and supported each other through many challenges. From their childhood days spent together riding horses in the countryside to the adventures they shared, their connection grew stronger. Unlike many royal siblings, Anne and Charles didn't allow rivalry to separate them. They knew the weight of their roles in the monarchy, but they chose to stand by one another, offering comfort and support. Both siblings faced the pressures of public life from a young age, but their relationship only deepened. As the years went by, Anne was always there for Charles, especially when royal duties weighed heavily on him. She stood by his side during some of the most difficult moments of his life, including the death of their mother, Queen Elizabeth Roman II. Her support during the Queen's passing was unwavering, and she played a vital role in assisting Charles as he stepped into his new role as king. Princess Anne's loyalty to her brother was never more evident than during his coronation. She took on many responsibilities, helping to organize and coordinate the events, always ensuring that Charles had the support he needed. Her selflessness and commitment to her brother's success were unmatched. Their bond became even more evident when Charles was diagnosed with cancer in February 2024. Buckingham Palace just revealing moments ago that King Charles Roman III has been diagnosed with an undisclosed form of cancer. Although Anne had her own demanding schedule, she immediately took on many of Charles's royal duties. She understood the importance of her role in supporting him and didn't hesitate to shoulder his responsibilities. Even though her own calendar was filled with engagements, her dedication to her brother's well-being is an example of the deep love and devotion they share. In addition to stepping up when Charles was ill, Anne never hesitated to question and challenge those around her when she felt it was necessary. One instance that highlighted her protective nature came when her sister, in-law Camilla, went on holiday shortly after Charles's diagnosis. Anne privately questioned her, suggesting that as queen consort, Camilla should take on more responsibility during such a difficult time for Charles. This act of standing up for her brother showed how much she cared for him, putting his well-being above all else. Their bond is also evident in the way Anne has made selfless decisions for the benefit of her family. She once made the decision to exit her inheritance in favor of her brother, King Charles, a gesture that spoke volumes about her love and devotion. Anne's willingness to make such sacrifices for her brother, even when it meant giving up something personally significant to her, is a testament to her character and the strength of their sibling relationship. Even with the challenges that came with Camilla's role as queen consort, Anne never allowed those differences to interfere with her bond with Charles. She understood the complex dynamics of the royal family, but always put her brother's needs first. Anne and Charles's relationship has withstood every test that came their way, and it's clear that their love for one another remains unshakable. Princess Anne's actions speak to her deep commitment to her brother and her loyalty to him as both a family member and a fellow royal. The Queen's immediate family have shone during this period. On Friday, a grieving King Charles Roman III delivered his pitch-perfect tribute for his mother while setting out his stall to become an aeolitical monarch to deliver her message. Throughout their lives, she has been his greatest support, and in return, Charles has always been there for her. Their strong sibling bond is a beautiful example of love and duty, and it shows that no matter the obstacles, family comes first. Their shared history and mutual respect are evident in every decision they make, and their efforts to be there for each other in times of crisis demonstrate the depth of their connection. Anne's level of selflessness. Princess Anne has always shown a selfless dedication to her royal family, especially to her brother, King Charles. One of her most notable gestures was stepping back from her inheritance rights, choosing not to take the family's inheritance for herself, but instead to allow her brother to inherit without any complications. Additionally, Anne made the decision not to grant royal titles to her children, showing her belief in their ability to carve their own paths without the weight of royal expectations. Despite being a princess herself, Anne has never sought the spotlight for personal gain. She has tirelessly worked for the monarchy and the royal family, carrying out her duties with unwavering commitment. Her dedication is often seen in her constant engagement in charity work, public appearances, and support for her brother's reign. Through all of this, Anne has never asked for recognition or reward, demonstrating her true selfless nature. Her relationship with King Charles has always been one of kindness, mutual respect, and support. While many royal siblings might experience rivalry, Anne and Charles have always been there for each other. Anne's support has been crucial during times of hardship, and her quiet strength has helped her brother through some of the most challenging moments of his life. Their bond, built on years of shared experiences, is a beautiful example of unconditional love and the importance of family. What do you think about Princess Anne's decision? Share your thoughts in the comments section.